Hi there, Frank Winston here for the Pacifica Historical Society, host of the show, the weekly show, Footprints of Pacifica, where we discover and explore the lure and the lore of lovely Pacifica, its character and its characters. This year we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the founding of the city of Pacifica, but there's an organization quite strong in this town, Pacifica, that is celebrating its 50th anniversary. And we have three guests from that organization, the local branch, the Pacifica branch of the American Association of University Women. Jan Dutton, Erica Wrigling, and Christine Krenzel. We'll start first with Jan. You want to tell us the association originally on the national level, why was it formed, when was it formed?
Well, formed in Boston in 1881 as the Association of Collegiate Alumni. And why? Well, they needed some studies, and the first study was whether, as one doctor said, it was unhealthy for women to have to study so hard and be educated. And another said, indeed, if they were capable of reproduction, they'd produce children with huge heads and puny bodies.
And they then had a mission in life to get recognition for what they do. And how did the Pacifica branch come to be?
Well, we think Erica needs to come.
Erica?
Okay. In Pacifica, AAUW nationally was known for its advocacies for schools, advocacies for women, advocacies for communities. And in Pacifica, in 1950 to 57, there was a huge increase in the population. And the schools were not being kept up in order to house all the children that were coming into the community. Fred Lucas was our superintendent at the time, and he was very concerned about passing school bonds and in order to build more buildings. And so he got together a group of his teachers, and they also had other women from the community who had the requirements to join AAUW. And together, about 18 of them chartered AAUW in Pacifica. It was chartered in November and December of 1957.
What were the requirements there? And then we'll talk to Christine about what is the requirements now.
Well, the requirements up until recently have been that women had to have a 4-year education at an accredited college or university. And at the time, no men were not part of the group because it was supposedly women promoting women's education. And so Fred Lucas couldn't join the organization, which he started here in Pacifica.
And Christina, you're the current president. As I understand, you've had that role several times. You like being the president. That's okay. What is the current ground rules?
Currently, anyone can join, men and women, as long as they have a 2-year degree and believe in the mission that we promote.
Now, how is the mission much different than what Jan shared with us?
No, it's still that we're looking to be a powerful advocate and a visible leader in equity and education through research, philanthropy, and measurable change in critical areas impacting the lives of women and girls.
Well, it sounds like that was a tough thing to do back 50 years ago. And Jan, what were some of the more notable achievements and attempts and studies that were done by the early founders of the branch?
Well, the first grant that they ever did was going through, it was in 1920, and they went to the branches to get $156,413 that went to Marie Curie for an ounce of radium, a gram, not an ounce.
For the inventor, the French inventor, Marie
Curie,
okay.
Madame Curie, and which I thought was rather an auspicious start.
And that was in the 20s, on the
1920.
In the local branch, when what were some of the issues that we're fighting in the early 50s? Erica mentioned the school bond. What were some of the others that were
well, one of the things that we did was to bring live theater to the children. Seemingly, when we first came here, there were children that had never even been to San Francisco. And so we're trying to open up their viewpoint. So we'd have people from a state or from a nonprofit that would give children's plays. Mm-hmm. We used to feed them salty popcorn and then sell them Kool-Aid.
Now, some of the early studies that focused on problems or issues of women's rights, I don't even think they were called women's rights then, or did they have that term?
Probably not.
But what were some of the issues that your branch or the was involved in?
One of the first things they said is that we are firmly in favor of women's suffrage, and they worked toward that.
The national organization?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, from all the branches too.
Okay.
And we were also working toward things like the things that would help with the population and making the crowded schools, which were things, and we did various and sundry things, and as in the classrooms, and helped. And a lot of our members taught.
Where did you go to university or college or whatever it was called?
I started at Stanford, and I finished at UCLA.
Okay. And Erica, some of the current activities that are involved here with regard to the local branch.
Well, I wanted to tag on to what Jan was saying.
Sure.
When we started in 1957, there was no community here. There wasn't a community organization to get things done. And so a whole new community had to be built. And our organization was very, very effective and very involved in the building of many, many different parts of the community that today are on their own and really going full blast. For instance, we did a lot with community development. We had candidate forums and panels. Our members started the co-op nursery school. We were involved with the Child Coordinating Council.
Well, could we take them a little slower, because the audience may not know the co-op nursery. They think you buy flowers there or something.
Right. Well, no, it was for children. It was,
nursery school.
Yeah, a nursery school.
And there was none before AAUW
Right.
found the need
Yes.
and tried to staff it.
1960.
We actually had a senior discount program where we put little labels in store windows and they'd give seniors discounts. We had a little booklet that we put out that seniors could get the discounts.
Just
and
curiosity.
we were very effective in the libraries and starting of the libraries.
Did they call them seniors? Because I've always heard elders, and there's always trying to find some other way to describe them.
They were called seniors.
Okay. And Jan, pardon me, Christine, one of the studies that was noted from your organization was to address the issue of prisoners. Now, that was on the state level, but you had great history in that. Could you share that?
Certainly. One of our members, current member and former, is Marge Russell, and she got interested in the topic of how prisoners were being treated, in particular women prisoners when they had children, and how to keep them involved in the children's life. And so she started this research project and studied it quite a bit, got us all involved, and had us interview the jailers over at San Francisco County. And based on this, we did come up with a series of recommendations that did go to the state level, and many of them were implemented. Also, some of it was funded, but then was appropriated for other means. But many of the suggestions that we came up with is happening.
So there really wasn't a focus on the issues of prisoners' rights or women prisoners at the time.
And in particular, mothers.
Parenting or pregnancy and the like, and the health issues. But you've been involved in health issues on a state level as well. Am I correct in the history of the Association of Healthcare
Women's
and
healthcare. Right. And women's health rights.
But I wanted to piggyback on what Erica had talked about in establishing a community. We also have members who were very active in starting the theater group now known as Pacifica Spindrift Players, members who were actively involved with the organization now called Pacifica Performances. So Erica was right in that we help create a community.
Were you at all involved politically, the organization, in the founding of Pacifica? Did they take an issue in that, whether there should or shouldn't be a city, relative to the bond issue and the other teachers' issues?
None of the three of us were here in those pre-1957 times. But it was more after that where we were very involved in making sure that the community knew who were going to be, what the elections were, what people were running for different city council and school board. We did candidate forums and we did panels in order to educate over, and we specifically used Channel 26, which was then called Channel 8, for our forums, and so that we could inform the community about the issues that were going to be on the ballots.
Was the involvement of the community to attend the meetings of your organization, is that where the forums were, as well as the TV? Were they open to the public, or was it only to your members?
No, they were both. They were both, that we held the forums in schools and that sort of thing, but we also mainly concentrated on getting it out through the community television.
And this is, excuse me,
Christine,
Frank, this is as
yes.
recently as 2 years ago we got and aired a pro and a con for the Quarry project. And I recall that we've done for the state representative, we've done for the Jefferson High School District, we've done it for the Pacifica School District, we've done it for the city councils.
For the water board?
For the water board, we've done it for the coastal commission.
For the candidates forums, yeah.
Yes.
Who were some of did you also promote certain women to become officers of the city or commissioners and the like?
I believe Jan could probably answer that best, but
Jan?
yes.
Well, when I first came here, they were just beginning to put forth Ruth Boudinot for the school board, and that was our first candidate. Although Marge Gentry was the first woman appointed to the, what was it, the Planning Commission, I think. And then we have had Grace McCarthy, Maxine Gonzalez, Dorothy Edminster, and Janice Fulford, who have all been council members, and they have been mayors, and Ursula Kern, who was on the county school board. And the reason we were so involved, one of the things that we were told as AAUW members, as educated women, it was incumbent upon us because we'd had this extra push to be of service to the community. One of our members, when she left to go down to Foster City, which was just beginning, she says, it was Barbara Levinson, she said, I don't think I'll join AAUW there. I'm tired of starting a city. But that was why we were so involved.
Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to
Christine?
add that because we are a nonprofit 501c3, we four, excuse me. We can take political positions as long as it's not a nonpartisan issue. So, for example, we can take an issue on the superintendent of education at the state level or in many of the initiatives.
Okay. And have you been taking them, or is that one of the privileges of being a member? You get to get an endorsement or vote for it?
We do some, not all, and some we actually have both a state level and, as they talked about, an association level where they have studied many of the issues and the initiatives in detail, and they come out with a position that they don't want us to contradict. But many times we agree with it anyway.
Well, I've read something of your history involving the Sweeney Ridge and some of the activities that brought people together and ultimately the GGNRA. Who wants to address that? I think, Jan, you had a role in that, a major role.
Well, beginning in December 1977, I came to the board of AAUW. Erica was president, and we, for support to the letter that we wrote to the council, asking the council to ask Representative Ryan for a feasibility study on Sweeney Ridge. And the letter was signed by me, Edna Holmstrom, another member, and Ferd Simons. We're getting old. And from that, after we asked also, well, I guess that was Ursula, when we took it to the city council and to tell her that she went and said that AAUW endorsed this stand, the ask for the feasibility. And then we took it to the interbranch, and San Mateo, San Bruno, and Half Moon Bay branches joined us in supporting the request for the feasibility study.
And that went through Congressman Leo Ryan?
Yes.
And then
and his request for the feasibility study was probably about the last thing he did before he went to Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
And so later, well, it took 7 years. And that's why Edna Holmstrom said, who was a very, very busy white woman, and she said, well, this is going to take too long. She said, you're going to have to replace me on the committee. And at which time Ken Miles came on. But Kay Reinhardt and I took postcards and to the 1979 association meeting in Albuquerque and brought it up in meetings there. And later on, there was a regional meeting, and at that time, California wasn't a sole region. We had Arizona, Hawaii, and I think Nevada. Mm-hmm. And they met at Mills College, and we took 1,000 sister city postcards of Pacifica to spread around all the people.
And the result was, of course, that the federal government took an interest in it and then preserved some of that space based on the origins of AAUW branch Pacifica. Now, additional to some of your advocacy programs, you're also doing what we would call good in the community, service to the community by the way of grants, fellowships, and the like. Christina's nodding her head.
Yes,
I
certainly.
Guess this is your turf, please.
At the local level, Pacifica AUW sponsors 2 young girls, 7th graders, to what we call Tech Trek, which is a week-long science and math camp each summer. And our 2 young women always go to Stanford, and they come back with the most exciting tales of what they're learning in this week-long camp. We also do 2 high school girls scholarships that is non-earmarked so that they can use it for whatever they need it for. At the association level, we are, AAUW is the largest grantor of advanced women's studies. Last year they gave over $4 million, and that's pretty standards. We had a speaker come who received one of those grants, and her postdoctorate was on the salinity of the bay and how it affected the wetlands. So it was very interesting.
Well, you have speakers on many topics, mm-hmm. all of them coming to address your group because of their high level of education.
I want to say something about Tech Trek because I was the chair of that for 9 years, and we sent, in the beginning, just 1 girl each year, and then we got a donation from one of our members, and we started with 2 and have kept that up till this date now. Now we've sent, it's been for 10 years. But I wanted to say that was a brainchild of our statewide organization, California AAUW, and they sponsor 6 camps at 6 different universities during the summer. And we are in the area where our girls get to go to Stanford. And then I also wanted to talk about the Girls' Career Day that's now held at Skyline. Well, that was started many, many years ago, right at Terra Nova, when we decided that we wanted to expose our girls at Terra Nova to women who were working in the various different fields, different careers. And so that was started by us and then taken over later on by other people. Many things, we've started many things here that eventually went on to other people. For instance, the performances you mentioned, we had Mildred Owens, a long-term AAUW member, and she's the artistic director of that right now. And in Channel 8 and now 26, our Helen James has been very active in that group, and she has been videotaping all of the city council, well, not city council, but the school board meetings, so that we have an opportunity for the whole community to be involved with these different councils.
On the national level, but from this branch, you've taken some strong positions on advocacy and have gotten some significant results both in employment or in housing, and you want to discuss that? Let's take
Well,
Christina.
it was one of the first ones that I recall was we did a survey and a study that was called Hostile Hallways, which talked about how girls in education were being shortchanged, and in particular discrimination as well as just what do I want to say here as far as criminal acts. So that was one of the ones. We've also been taken to task for our issues on women's health issues and where we stand on accessibility and access to health care.
Were you involved, by the way, were you involved in the Title IX where the
Yes, we were.
creative funds? Could you describe that a little and then
Yeah,
go
sure.
back?
Title IX is to provide funding for women's sports at the college level, well, high school and college level, so that they would receive equal funding as to what the male counterparts were getting. And we're still following up on that because, for example, one of the coaches up at, I believe, Davis girls wrestling team was having a problem because he was not being able to get the money necessary for the funding for the women's wrestling team. So yes, we have taken some flack for our positions.
And Christine, I cut you off. You were in the middle of describing another activity of the advocacy.
Well, I just wanted to add two things to what Erica said. Another one that we were very involved with is making sure that we had 2 library branches in town through the Friends of the Library, which Carolyn Barba is a current member and is still very active and is president. So they're really watching how to get funding, adequate funding, so that we can keep a library open.
Well, speaking of funding, they're trying to raise funds for the library. Do you not have that problem at all? Christine?
We do, and but the women in this organization just keep working, and I'm just amazed at how much they're willing to devote time and effort. And we do participate in the Fog Fest, so that has always been very helpful. But many times you will have seen in the past, we've been out there on the street corner selling our cookies and what have you to raise funds for the scholarships.
Has the community been involved in some of your fundraising activities, that is, non-members of your association, but they see the need and they support you in some of your activities? Erica?
Not so much as far as donations or that sort of thing goes. Mostly it's come from members. We have a endowment right now, a very small endowment from Ursula Kern, a past president, past member, towards scholarships, and that money's been useful to fill in what we haven't been able to make each year. So we've been very thankful to Ursula for providing us with that money. But the community helps by buying the things. We have had garden tours in the past, house tours. These are all asking the community to participate. We also sell refreshments at the 4th of July.
Okay. We're going to have a tag at the end where it shows where people can send, but while we're on it, Christine, if people wanted to contact you for donation, work, membership, how would they contact the association?
They can reach us at our P.O. Box, which is P.O. Box 521, Pacifica 94044, or they can phone me at 650-557-9321. One thing that I also wanted to add was we also have general programs that are open to the public that they can attend. For example, this Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. at the Hilton Way Library, we have a program on No Child Left Behind. And the act that was, it's in the process of being reauthorized, and what are the problems with it, what are the benefits of it, and how does it affect particularly Pacifica School District.
What sounds interesting is that not only you had advocacy charges from the beginning, but you follow up. Some groups get their thing passed and then move on to something else. Apparently you still keep after them. They can't get away with just hiding the money or not following up on no Child Left Behind. Erica, you had one other comment you wanted?
I don't know what that comment was,
Oh,
but
well, I saw you moving forward
we
or
do have
something.
the Legal Advocacy Fund at the
Okay.
association level, which we contribute to every year. And that is to make sure that women have an opportunity to advance in their careers. And we actually have to get attorneys and fight for their rights to have the higher positions. There's still the glass ceiling out there.
I know that there's an issue of, not an issue, but a popularity of book clubs, but you people had book clubs long before most of the community chose to do that. One of you, Jan, were you involved in the original book clubs?
No, I never have been.
That's how
okay.
I joined AUW. I heard a woman talking about the book clubs here in Pacifica, and she invited me to the first one, and I've been hooked ever since. But and we have an evening and a day one, and also we've expanded so that we have a play reading group. So this is on our social side, where we
Okay.
take a break from pushing advocacy.
Well, we're going to take a break now
Stitchery.
because we've run out of time. I want to thank Erica and Jan and Christine for being here. And if you want to contact the Historical Society, P.O. Box 752 in Pacifica 94044, and our phone number 650-359-5462. Thank you again for being here. And remember, lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints in the sands of time.